good afternoon, good evening, good brunch, wherever you are, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome. Welcome to the Trade Vets, where we trade value and not time, and we are looking to get value out of our time. We also always have a trade plan, and we're always managing risk. So if this is your first time, welcome. Where's to that? All right, so I'm trying to find my pen real quick, guys, and then we will the pen. There it is. We'll get started. Good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Adam. How are all of you guys doing this wonderful morning? So let's zoom out on the market and kind of see where we're at or what we have going on, right? So you can see from the close yesterday to the after hours during the CME settlement, we opened on a gap down and pretty much traded inside the low of yesterday's range, the lower half of yesterday's range. Today opened up, broke previous day's range, started to come down. We had targeted a level if we were able to close that old CME gap, which we did. The level was 74. It came down to 72. So pretty decent expectations, or pretty decent zone, at least, a decent bounce here off of the low. Definitely could just be a little resting point, and we could see if buyers aren't able to get above this C high and start to fill in some of these single prints, then the downside is probably coming. I do think that a lot of today is caused by a bit of capitulation from retail traders. I think a lot of the selling today was just straight in tech. And then yesterday, if we take a deeper look around the market, we'll be able to see kind of why the chaos was going on. If we look over at like Snapchat, I think the news was on, you can see they got just an absolute massacre of a gap down. I mean, this is like 50%, I think, 40%. And it was based off of their earnings and their guidance. What's interesting though is that their earnings weren't bad. It was their guidance and basically saying that they were just going to be trying to save money going forward. So to me, it didn't really seem like that crazy of a report. It just, the market did not like it at all. Zoe, good morning. Hey Zoe, we're in Zoom too if you want to jump in the Zoom. Tommy, good morning. Luis, good morning. Trin, good morning. I'm chilling. How about you? Morning, LUP. Nice. Where'd you get short from yesterday? Nice. Oh, damn, bros. Right. I'm sorry to hear that. If we drag over the Thinkorswim, we can see the tick pretty much. I had it on a 15-minute because I was trying to time, not really time the low, I guess, but I was really trying to see if buyers were going to start stepping in down here so I could get long, and ended up working out okay so far. I'll put it back to 5 minutes. And we can see, the tick has been basically kind of pinned down on the low. We've had a couple of little buying pops, but nothing too impressive. We can see the breadth is -6 on the NYSE, -5 on the NASDAQ, which is normally indication of a trend day. We can see the weighted sectors are starting to look to make a lower low if they start to get some selling. Pretty much every sector is red. Energy and consumer staples have been flipping back and forth between red. If we look here, we can kind of see the only thing that's up right here is this light blue, and that is TLT, which is basically risk off, right? The gold bar is going to be gold, the blue is bonds, and then we've got oil here. The red is the SPY, and what's this lower green one was the triple Q. So you can see it's a big push for risk off, right? We've got what did I just say? Now I can't remember. TLT, bonds, and gold up. So TLT, bonds, and gold, that's this light blue, regular blue, and gold is right underneath of it. And then oil and the indexes are all down, right? So this is a fairly normal move in the market as far as the market moves, right? You can see the FANG sector has moved down and has since just been kind of consolidating. Even if we pull up Apple down here, you can see it's kind of bounced off that low at 137 again, where that gap was at. Remember, we had a gap on Apple down at 137. It came back down to that gap and is since just kind of balancing at the low. You know, so today, with it being a more of a risk off push, oh, you're having problems getting in, getting on the Zoom this computer. Oh, okay. Well, you'll be good on there for till we figure it out. But with everything being a risk off, right? If we pull up like the ZNs over here, we can see that they're getting a big boost. So this is just telling us that money is coming out of equities, which are stocks or risk on assets, right? Things that have a higher chance of risk, then are coming out of these things and going into bonds, which offer a less of a return, but typically are viewed as a safer investment, right? This hasn't always been happening, especially not lately. We can see as the market's been coming down. Here's the beginning of the year. Where's January? So here's the beginning of the year, January. You can see bonds have been kind of tracking with the market, but a lot of times they're inversely correlated to the market normally when there's not as much fear, and that's what today seems like. So today, although I think there is a little bit of capitulation from retail traders, right, weak-handed traders, you know, just kind of giving up on some of these positions that they've bought, or maybe taking profit before it gets back to where they bought it at, right? If we look at a lot of these stocks, I know Google hit a 52-week low today. We can see all the way back down into March 2021 levels, and then there's a gap below down to this 18 or 1900 level below this 2000 level. So it makes sense to me that if you were short Google, or if you were hedging Google, around the 2000 level is a good spot to probably take some profit. And if you had bought in, you know, in 2021 around the beginning of the year, you watched your stocks go from 1700 all the way up to 3000, and now they're back down towards your entry again. So that's kind of why I think it's a little bit of capitulation from the retail crowd selling out of, you know, some of their long term, which is interesting too, because it caused a lot of volatility in the market. And with the market going electronic, and with the ease of use in the market, you know, with people able to easily manage their own portfolios or their own money, you know, we can see, you know, a lot more emotional moves, because back in the day, I guess, or even now, really, in like a Roth or a retirement account or something like that, there's typically no hedging done, right? There's no like puts or calls, so you don't get a lot of these like gamma squeezes and things like that, right? They're hedged with like buying risk off assets and like what would you call it? Uh can't think of the word. Um like risk off shares, right? And not really getting rid of um your Apple shares. Like let's say if you got a bunch of Apple or a bunch of Tesla, a bunch of these tech stocks, dude, this thing is ripping nice. Mm-mm-mm. Come on. I'd like to see that 3906 get tested on this web. I mean, maybe this 3900, of course, very psychological number. But if these buyers are serious, I'd like to see them get up there and test that 3906. And then remember, we had a really mechanical level. Today, the A high was exact with the Globex point of control. So that's kind of a interesting tidbit to notice. And then we're also getting a weak high from D period right now. Mechanical D high. Chris B, aloha. Good morning. Back down to the lows here. And remember also that these mechanical references are not as important when the trend is down, right? And the trend is obviously down. So don't just assume that we're gonna just break this level, right? You got to be careful with that. Just getting along just to, kind of hope in this situation that we're just gonna keep breaking that level. Pay attention to where value is, right? Value is down, not even overlapping, but just down. We tested inside that previous range, and now we're trying to establish value below yesterday's range, right? If the market is unable to establish value in yesterday's range, then it will look to trade up. If it is able to establish value, the target down becomes this 50, what do I say, 56. Really, like, I mean, really all this area, it was like 56 all the way until this 40 level. Below that, I just think, all this volume that came in below is just going to capitulate and might just smash right through it. But this weak volume spot is kind of where I'm looking to see if the market does push down into this area, our buyer is going to responsively step up and kind of fill in this weak spot in the profile here. If not, um, and we do get down to this area and we don't see buyers show up, obviously we're going to watch that point of control, but then most likely we'll be looking towards that 3807. That'll be putting at another 150 point day at that rate. The VIX is up to 31, so it's up about 9% today. Yo, Sisypho. What's up, Rasta? BAC workers get 3%, 5%, 7% increases under new 100K across the banks. Financials are still giving people raises. And Pal's pre-recorded message comes on in a bit as well. That's twice now we've gone down to that D low and not got any continuation. Look to see if it pushes down there and they're able to get it on this third try here. Seven minutes left until the next period opens up as well. Breath is still looking like a bag of shit. Watch this 82 level. This is a level that sellers got pretty busy on this way down. Might see some short covering up above it. Looking for the reoffer. This might be where they have to go back up, resupply so they can take that low. Well, pump here. So it's at that 82 level. Look for these sellers to try to hold it down at this 82 level. If they're not able to hold it below this 82, probably see some short covering up to like 87, 90 level. Big offers back up on the 90 starting to show up. It looks like a bunch of buy stops just showed up on the upside. Be careful for a rip here. Unless this volume keeps moving down and keeps selling, this thing might just recover these single prints quick. So if you are shorting, just be careful. You want to load up for the next hype for BTC? Yeah, it's interesting. Bitcoin has been kind of struggling down here, but really just staying in this range, right? We kind of see, it's It's came down, had that low around 26, and then it's kind of popped up and really just been trapped in this range here. You know, seller just kind of lurking up here, buyer just kind of lurking down here. Interesting thing to note here though, also, if we put on, where's the volume profile for everything? This one? Yeah. So an interesting thing to note that I was looking at is, so you see after that low, look where all the volume is at. So it's not really, at least to me is what it's looking like. It's not really looking like um initiated selling is happening around these lows. It kind of looks like selling just shuts off and the market starts to bounce and the sellers are reloading up on this area up here. So a break of this area, this 3060 or 3600, that's what can cause you know, a nice big rip. But until we get back above or out of this kind of balanced range low, it's going to be a bit more difficult. This one. So, doesn't look like full balance. What do you mean? It's more on like a bigger level. Intraday, it doesn't really look like balance. But I mean, if you were to break this down here, I mean, you can see like, so here's the 630 open, this bar here. Oh, got a little bit of lag. Price moves down, all the way down, right? And is now starting to form kind of a B-shaped profile. So we know that's liquidation there, right? And we can see where the buyers came in off of the bottom. So we know there's going to be some support around this level here. And we can see buyers came back in around this low here. So, you know, it's or at least that's where shorts started covering maybe. And so at least that's something to monitor as the rest of the day trades on, because this is a 24-hour profile, but it looks like during the cash session we are seeing shorts start to cover, and that would make sense, like I said, because down towards these lows it just looks like the selling shuts off, and if there's no extra selling or initiated selling, what happens is these sellers that are short from up here start to buy their positions back. That's what causes a little bit of short covering. um, it looks like to me what happened for the past 24 hours is, since this Asia open, people have been buying it. Market opened up, the market went down, brought Bitcoin with it, and we're starting to see a little bit of shorts covering down here, after or not shorts covering, it seemed like the selling right here was basically caused by long liquidation, like basically longs selling, right? So not new money selling. And then once it popped up, we started to see short covering, and then additional short covering probably bring us back into value, or at least up into the point of control, and that's what can cause that move. Spiked, it's unbalanced. It looks like we are working more highs and lows. One too low? What do you mean? I'm not sure what that means. It look spiked. It's, oh, like when you zoom out, you have a big wick. I think we need to fill those orders. The spikes spiked. It's unbalanced. It looks like we are working highs more than lows. They only hit one low. You mean like these levels down here? So E period opens up. We still have that weak D high here. We're able to tap that 3890 level. resistance is like 38.90 to 38.92, and then above 38.92 we'll probably see that short covering back up to that 3900, I think, with some front running in front of it, I'm sure. May 12th. Oh, you're talking about on this low. Oh, okay, I see, I see. That's what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's still a gap down here. If we look at BTC futures, remember we have this gap down here, and the gap isn't closed. So there's still like 24. If we really zoom in on this thing, I'll just mark this level because I keep trying to remember what it is, but forgetting. So it's basically there, 2460, 615. And you can see even on Bitcoin, right, on a bigger time frame, it looks like, especially when we look at the daily bars, looks like short covering, right? So if it is just, if any of this buying off these lows is just shorts covering, which is kind of what we said, there's no extra supply down here until an initiated seller comes down and breaks the low of this range, then that low will become the target. But if this low continues to maintain and shorts don't initiate lower, then the top of that range becomes the target. And from that, then we bounce to the highs, in my opinion. How high do you think? I mean, this thing's at 1, 2, 3, 4 times right here. Basically, this low is super weak. If it doesn't break that low, that just causes, more trapped sellers trying to break that low. Weekender traders get trapped down there. Amazon and Google are surprisingly not as far off their low as you would think. Um, but Apple's down big, Tesla's down pretty decent. Even though Google's down 6%, It's just because it's from yesterday's close, but from its open today, it's not down as bad. Apple though is down a pretty penny coming down here. So keep watching this 82 level, right? Remember this 82 level when we were getting above it, seemed to be acting as a bit of resistance. Then it popped it. Now we're seeing it act as support. So this could be another key level going forward to watch. See the volume starting to slow down here. Where's my Internet Explorer? Yeah, so we started off early, volume about 16% more than the previous day, got up to 18%. And then so far, these last two half-hour periods, we're at about 15%. So not really too much of a slowdown, definitely more volume than yesterday. And what easily could be happening, right, is the market could be coming down a bit to try to fill the orders that it didn't get a chance to fill, right? So on Friday, we saw that big move down, and then all of a sudden buy stops came out, and the thing just ripped up like 100 points. I mean, take a look at this. I mean, so just during M period, that last move off the bottom, 46 to about 50 points in one 30-minute period, just straight to the upside. And it was like, basically just straight to the upside as well. So came down here, a bunch of buy stops get executed, the market rallied. We're coming back down to that spot. Could be a spot where, maybe long-term money is looking to get long. We do know that last Tuesday, they did buy, right? If we look at over here, it'd be easier. When we're looking at on the daily. So this is Friday, Thursday, Tuesday was, make sure, it was Tuesday the 17th. So this day, so by this day, they had added to their long position on the ES, um, but open interest really remained unchanged. So they they added to their long position, but they also took profit on some of their short position. So their net position was really kind of unchanged. But they didn't close any of the long position, which is interesting too, because we did get a pump up right on that Tuesday, and so maybe some of them got trapped up there as well, some hedge funds and stuff, thinking that we were going to break out from here. Watch the 90 to 92 level up here, guys. That's the resistance right now. Above that, you're looking at trying to get those stops from that C and D period. Only 3 contracts traded on that high as well, a D high last time. Down to 85. That 82 has been a big level so far. Back up to this 90 level. So 90 and 92, right, is our resistance here, and then support is kind of 85 to 82. So we're in a pretty tight range as we, continue to go on with this period. A little bit of buying here. I mean, Apple's going to have to participate in this boost here. There's those stops. So look for the 3,900, right? That's where we figured that the short covering could come up to with a little bit of front running, which is kind of what it looks like we're seeing there. 95. Go back down to the 92 and 90. Let's see if it accesses support this time. It was kind of our impulse area, that 92. And you can see all the volume that came through on that 92, right? So somebody started lifting the offer, ran the stops above, and has come back down to this 90-92 area. Give them a second chance to buy, and then possibly looking, like I said, that 3,900 has I mean, it's just like a psychological number, really. Kevin, we can hear your sound. Oh, I maybe I can't hear you guys then. If you guys are talking, I can't hear shit. So I'm not hearing anything on my headphones at all. That's probably my headphones. Let me see. Oh, now I can hear you guys. Oh, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear you guys at all. My bad if you guys were saying something. He was doing what? Oh, okay, my bad. I don't know if they could hear that on YouTube too, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know if I have the sound on. Oh, no, I don't. No, you're good. That's weird. I could hear like sounds coming out of my computer, but couldn't hear you guys. I just had to switch the headphones. So weird. So there's that 39, 38.99, 3,900 getting front ran a little bit here. It makes sense. Seller's starting to capitulate. Like big order just traded on the 38.90, 800 lot order, sell order, trade on the bid. Next level above that 3,900 is 3,906. Wasn't a huge level, but that 39.26 quarter is really like the big level that I have written down from this morning. So not a bad move there. Not a bad move at all. I'm just running these contracts up too, so let's just hope we get all the way to 39. At least 39.10 and I'll be happy. Maybe 39.06 and I'll be happy. Let's call it that. But we could, I mean, this could be sellers just reloading on the 3900, guys. We're not back inside yesterday's range. So really to give us that confidence that we're going to keep, you know, getting this covering back to the upside, we want to get back inside yesterday's range and get accepted inside yesterday's range. Until then, value's still forming lower. There is a gap. Yes, I did post a long in the Discord, but I said that it was high risk. So, and remember, like, just because it worked this time doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work the next time. A lot of times it's wrong. But that's how life is, right? You never learn that something's wrong until you try it multiple times and just fail at it. Guys, I'm fucking running today's. I'm breaking today's everything. They're sad today. Market makers are. I just went deep on that 82 level, guys. Deep. Oh man, this is nice. On the flip side of risk, you can have the life change like I told you about with Luna last week. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. How's Luna doing? I haven't looked at Luna, to be honest with you. But there's a fill of those singles right there, guys. This is just fucking hilarious. They're doing horrible. I was in and out on the right side, down and back up. Nice. Oh shit, what did I just do? Fuck. Does anyone know what I just did? Oh my god, I don't know. Oh fuck. This button? Oh my god. Oh, I see. That was almost catastrophic. And there goes our buddy Bitcoin. Look at him just taking off those stops to the high. Hey, that's good identification, guys. That's what we got to do. We just got to be patient, let these trades come to us, identify them when they come, and then just execute, right? And if they don't work, they don't work. The key thing is like we're not gonna know if it's working until we kind of see it or try it. But bought in the wrong direction. No. LUP was nailing Luna. He actually what's that? Oh no, this thing like switched. I clicked this button here and it like switched to this chart. And so I don't know what this chart is. I mean, it's Bitcoin obviously, but I don't know why it switches to look like this. It looks like these look like Heikinashis. But I guess I guess that's what this button does. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, Luna, he actually did really good at Luna. He was short Luna like from high. I mean, you can see Luna's worth like less than a penny, a lot less. Oh my goodness. So Luna took this fucking meteoric crash down to reality after the guy admitted that he was doing a scam. Hmm. The worst part is last week, if we really zoom in on this thing, because I was looking at it last week and I was thinking like, maybe there's some opportunity here if we were to like, try some buying and I I didn't take the chance, but I mean, we can see this thing got basically down to be worthless as shit, and then had this run because he was saying that he's gonna fix it and blah 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 blah. It got ran back down, and then now it's kind of just flattening out, being another Shiba. He was probably shorting before. Yeah, I mean, he had to have known that it was happening. As the owner of something like that, you've got to know, like, if something's starting to get depegged, or if people are trying um to do this to you. You know what I mean? You think? You think? I mean, it was a pyramid scheme. Remember, pyramid schemes work great when you're in early, and he Luna was a pyramid scheme. Oh, he if Luna. Yeah. Well, what does suck for crypto, because that happened, like you're saying, like you can't trust any of them. In the people that are involved in crypto, watch this 3906 actually right here on the market, guys. It's kind of becoming a big level. It's at half back so far, and we're kind of seeing, as the market's trying to get inside yesterday's range, a little bit of resistance right here. So sellers are trying to load down to hold us outside of yesterday's range. So just be careful there. But yeah, like like you're saying, the the uh the casual investor or casual person that is looking at getting into some crypto, especially with all the commercials and stuff going on, they probably got long, in, let's say, March, maybe February with the Super Bowl. Yeah, and now they're crushed, and so now they're going to be even more turned off to the opportunity of crypto, because they're thinking, man, if I would just held my dollars, I would have been good. Elizabeth Warren, the Native American lady. Yeah. Yeah, never. We'll see that, and that's the conundrum that the government gets in, right? We're like, we want a free market, and so we want you to be able to do what you want with your money, but we also don't want people that don't know what they're doing putting their money that they need for rent in something like Luna or Sheeb or Doge, you know, thinking that they're gonna get rich off of, you know, some amazing bounce. You know what I mean? The market right now, guys, is right at the VWAP, it looks like. And this 3906, like I said, that prior day's low, looks like sellers are trying to move down to sell here. So this would be an initiated move for sellers if they're able to hold us out of that range, and would show a little bit of strength from the sellers, you know, that they're serious, right? They might have gotten a little bit too short, a little bit of short covering, but this would be an opportune moment if they wanted to keep selling, for them to keep selling. If they're not able to hold this 3906 level and we start to get above it, like I said, the next level up, I think, really is, I mean, 3906, the last level I really had written down, besides that 26 quarter, maybe like the 1950. Looks like there's some decent volume here. 1915, I mean, right? It's kind of where the volume starts up again. But, and then, you know, the open, if they're able to take that B high, this E high is mechanical, I would say, off the B open, but if they're able to take that 26 core, I mean, it's right under the open, so that kind of even looks mechanical, that they were just front running the open and getting short the open, after the market popped up, because it open popped up and then came back down. It looks like they piled in after we broke back below the open, so that seems like the target, or the kind of the last straw right there. James George, good morning. How are you? When's Pal's thing come on? I know Pal's recorded message is supposed to come out. I think it's in like 20 minutes. It might be right now. Not looking. I haven't seen it yet. 2 days working, 2 days awake working Luna, 234% shorting, fucking massacre, and then 85% back, or 83% back filling up. Might sound bad, but I had a screen for whatever is moving. No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's called trading momentum. Yeah. That's how I mean, that's kind of how I trade crypto too. I just wait for something that kind of builds up and is getting ready to break out, and then just go with it. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad strategy with crypto at all. Just seeing these weak ass shorts get their fucking shit handed to them. Like I said, these shorts, I think they were capitulation. You're starting to see a little bit of profit taking now here though, up at inside yesterday's range. But I think those shorts early on were capitulation. People selling, retail traders selling their tech stocks because it was getting back close to their buy-in, right? We're getting close to a lot of these gaps that we've talked about on some of these higher beta stocks, and you know, it makes sense that retail would want to sell. And you know, if I had to guess who's down here just soaking all this shit in, fucking probably Kathy Wood. You're just down here like, I love apples when they're cheap. Just give them all. Ooh, Google's when they're cheap, yeah. Tesla's when they're cheap, yeah. Give them up. You know. So that's kind of how I kind of look at that. This F period will be interesting. Remember that we had this E period was a little bit mechanical, but fixed that mechanical level. So we'll still watch this 3906 to either act as resistance or support here. And then the VWAP is literally like 3904.50. So price is trapped between this 3906 and the VWAP for here. Sometimes also though, you see market makers bring price below the VWAP to buy up inventory, take it above the VWAP, and then just start selling. So that's something to think about here as well. I don't have a position on anymore. I closed the long at the 10 level. That was the last look for me. Well, like actually closed at like 875, 875, 9 quarter, 10, 975. But like around the 10 is what I meant. Back to this 3900. The breadth has calmed down a little bit, still negative, or almost 5-1 on the NYSE and 5-1 on the Nasdaq as well. And the tick is still just kind of uh getting smashed, but you are seeing a little bit of buying in the weighted sectors, right? So Apple's only down 2%, it was down 4%. Microsoft is down 1.25. Google's still getting smacked, down 325. But like I said, Google's really not that far from its open today, about $25 away from its open, so really not that far. Amazon cracked its open on this last pop up. It's back under its open by $1. Amazon's still down 3%. Tesla still pretty decent ways below its open, but down only $10 from the open price, to be honest with you. And so, but they're still down about 4% based off the close of yesterday. And Facebook, getting absolutely massacred once again, down 8%, almost 9. Zuckerberg is getting a talking to. That Facebook's getting clapped. It would make me happier if I shorted them, but I didn't. I shorted Apple instead. More. Well, there's always been an obsession with the unknown, right? Always, especially by dreamers and thinkers, creators, and people of science, and that's kind of what sometimes really kind of gets me on edge is when we rule out things when we don't actually know, right? Like some people say God's not real, but you don't know. You know what I mean? You don't know. There's no way to know because you're not dead. You don't know. And we can't communicate with dead people. And so this is kind of what his way of, and a lot of people of science, Charles Darwin included. Charles Darwin was an atheist, right? A lot of people don't know that. And he had actually talked about how his theories were kind of derived from him looking for an answer other than God, right? Back in the day, that's kind of how it was. It wasn't like, oh, we stick on the earth because of gravity. It's God holds us down, right? And then like, they discovered gravity, and then they're like, oh, gravity holds us down, and then adaptation and all of these things. And then, some of them were proven, and then because right, exactly, that's a great way to put it. It's the thing that really kind of hurts me when these kind of discoveries come out is that people abandon uh abandon belief, or abandon what they had believed in before, for some some evidence, basically, or some anecdotal evidence, basically, that they can now believe in. But when you ask them to explain to you why, they have no idea. And that's the thing that kills me, is like, you're so quick to say yes to one thing and no to the other, instead of just saying this is what you believe, but you still are open to the idea of other possibilities, because there is so much that is undiscovered. And that's kind of how I live my life. You know, I'm very optimistic, I guess. And so, you know, I'm very open to new ideas. And so I don't really write Zuckerberg off for him trying to solve an unknown, because that's who he is, right? I mean, he could be an alien or a robot. He looks, well, and it might be, right? He might only give a shit about money, right? He might, but we don't know that for sure. It just seems like that, because that's how it's portrayed to us. You know what I mean? Like, especially when they made that movie, that movie, that Facebook movie. I can't remember what it was called. I think it's called Social Network. No, maybe it was. It was actually a really well done movie. Um, but they made Zuckerberg in the movie look like a total d-hole. You know, and then every time we see him on TV, he looks like a total d-hole, because he is all every time we see him on TV, for the most part. Yeah, see, but that's like judging a book by its cover, because you haven't been able to open those pages. Yeah. It's like when I first picked up Harry Potter, I looked at the cover and I'm like, this looks fucking dumb. And then you read those books and you're like, damn, these are actually pretty good. There is. Starting to see some things get a little bit of a boost here. Apple's trying to come up above its open of the day. Well, it's still pretty decent distance, but trying to break up out of this range that it's in. You see Apple here on the 5-minute chart in my lower right quadrant. We were consolidating on the low, kind of bounced up, and now we're kind of consolidating here. So we'll look to see if it's gonna, you know, break out of balance, look to test back in this lower value, or it's building value higher and it wants to test value up as well. The what's up? Well, that's the issue, is people hate Joe Rogan because he gets to have it both ways, because he's bipartial or impartial, and people hate that because they don't have the confidence to be that way. Well, they want, yeah, exactly. They want to know, okay, what's your stance? Like, they want to know. But the thing is, like, you know, like the big thing right now with the abortion being whatever it's called, repealed, and so now it's illegal federally to get an abortion, but the states say it's on them, and so, you know, it's regardless of where your stance on it is, does that necessarily make somebody different in who they are, or what their core values are, regardless of if they believe in that or not? You know what I mean? If you're pro abortion, but you know, you also voted for Trump, what happens to you? You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of thing. That's where that's that's where we're at. People want, you can't have that. You can't do that. You can't want abortions and vote for Trump. It's just against the rules. And because we've drawn these very black and white boxes, um, when in reality, you know, life is not black and white. And we see that with almost everything, right? You know, it's gray. And unfortunately, the issue is, unless you have money, you don't get to decide the shade of gray that it is. If that makes sense. I'm getting deep here today, guys. And that's why, you know, that's another big thing, is like that I enjoy this group, this TTV that we're starting, because together people are stronger. But unfortunately, like I said, without the money to be able to do that, you know, we can't go march or protest peacefully like Martin Luther King did, because we don't have the money. We need to go to work. We got to pay our bills. We got families. We got kids. We got insurance. We got shit, you know? And unfortunately for me, on a Tuesday afternoon, that's just not something that I'm going to be doing, especially not in the masses. But if we're able to afford everybody the opportunity and have them learn how to trade the market, then they will have that time. And then, you know, as that starts to happen, people start taking their time back, which is what we're doing here, is we're taking our time back. Sorry, I forgot that was on there. Taking our time back, and that'll give us the power to grow together and afford us that opportunity to be able to progress as a whole, as a country, and then, you know, eventually as the world. The world's definitely bigger. You know, that's a tough one. World peace is, it's tough. Been tried a couple of times. But I mean, it's just not impossible. And that's the thing, is like, I hate to say like, oh, it's impossible, it's an impossible task, but I just don't believe that. I just don't believe anything is impossible. You know what I mean? It's like me telling myself I can't dunk a basketball. What? Nothing. Nothing is impossible. If you were to ask, um, fuck, I mean, if you were to ask, like, in what year did the Wright brothers create their flying bicycle? Wright brothers first flight. Let's see. I think it was 1903. That was pretty damn close. The first flight was 1903. Yeah, that was pretty good. But if you were to ask the Wright brothers, who were bicycle mechanics, which is why I said that, they were bicycle mechanics. If you were to ask them, guys, remember I said watch that 26 quarter. That's a big level. If it gets above that 26, I think we could squeeze. I really do. If you were to ask the Wright brothers, who were bicycle mechanics, and they created this first flight, if they thought that the if they thought, this is just so fucking funny. Sorry, guys. We literally nailed the bottom today. And it doesn't happen often, but it feels good when it does. So, and Tommy, you could take those 2 points to the bank. That was a good one. But you know what I mean? If you were to ask those Wright brothers, like, hey, do you think that eventually we're gonna have flights that can fly from here to China? They would be like, the Titanic didn't even make it across the water, pal. Okay, don't think that you're gonna fly over. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, and this is 100 years later, not even. And look how far we've advanced in just 100 years. The technology growth has just been, you know, insane. Oh, back above the 26 quarter. Here we go. Watch. Hang on. What's that? Yeah, that's true. You know what's funny is I was and it's kind of along the same lines. Um where people always worry about when they go to the past about changing the future, right? It's like a common concern. They're like, "Oh, if I go to the past, um I got to be careful because I might change the future," right? And this is, a hypothetical, yeah, the butterfly effect, right? But nobody ever worries about what they're doing right now affecting the future. Isn't that weird? Nobody ever thinks about right now, like, oh, what I'm doing right now can affect the future as well. Everyone is just worrying about the past. That's a very, I don't know, that to me that's a very interesting thought process. And check this out, guys. So as the market gets back above the open, you start to see some sellers come back on, right? And we might start to see maybe some backfilling in this area if buyers decide to step up. If they do continue to squeeze, and we didn't quite get the squeeze that I was hoping for above that 26, only got a couple ticks above. Um, but if it does squeeze back up and take this mechanical A high, which is off that overnight point of control, you're looking at this gap up here thinking, I mean, I'm looking at this gap up here thinking, oh, well, that's a weak spot. Let's just fill that in. So you could get, if we get accepted above that half back or above this point of control, price comes up and hangs out up here, we'll be looking to get accepted in the prior day's value area and good odds that we trade back to that 64, which was that point of control. And honestly, I think good odds if we get up there and fill that gap. Big buyer stepping up on the 18, looks like pretty close to price. Let's see if they trade. Go ahead. What's up? So last night, right? Last night, um, so this little chunk right here is from, I mean, in market hours, this is what Eastern time be? 1, 2, 3, yeah, so this is 4:30 Eastern time to 5 p.m. And at 6 p.m., this opened back up, but it opened back up down here about 20 points lower. So there's a gap here. We had a gap down that we haven't fixed. So remember we had that gap up, and I'll show you here on the ES. It might be a little bit easier to see. Uh, that's the Globex session. The Globex session reopens at 6 o'clock. So if we look on the ES, you can see, and this is a 30-minute RTH only. So here's yesterday, this is Sunday, and remember we had that little gap down here. Well, we came down, fixed that gap. We had come back, we had come back down here, and now we have this kind of gap above. It's not a true gap, right? Because it's only caused from the gap down from the CME settlement and then the CME reopening. But it is still a gap that, I mean, just still something to pay attention to, you know what I mean? if we get up accepted above this A high, there's probably good odds that they look to trade back up to this 39.75 or settle from 39.71. If not, we can just assume that this area here may act as a bit of resistance if it doesn't get back up into there, and just utilize it as excess, which we know can act as support or resistance depending upon where we're at in comparison. Yeah. So much selling up here. Let's see, Powell's statement came out, but I'm not seeing any like hot headlines or anything from Twitter. Gap on NQ is 133 points. Entered or short at. Yeah, and I mean, we've still got to focus, right? Even though we did get a nice short covering rally and a bit of buying, we still have to focus on value, right? Value's down. It's overlapping to down. I mean, I wouldn't even say overlapping. It's just down. We got back inside yesterday's range, and we're looking for that acceptance inside yesterday's range. And we still have a mechanical level above this. A high was that overnight point of control. Seen a big buy order come through on the 39.14 lot order. Trading on the ask. Fed's pal doesn't mention U.S. economy outlook or path of monetary policy in pre-recorded introductory remarks to American Indian Economic Conference in Las Vegas. So he didn't really say anything, I guess, that was of value. Another big 100-lot trade on the 39.14 sell order, and then another buy trade 39.14 quarter 100 lots. So they're just kind of going back and forth. It kind of looks like a big buyer changed his mind and then changed his mind back here. Big sell order, 339.14 quarter, 196 lots. So he closed everything. So there was a buyer. He took one tick, changed his mind. Took another tick, changed his mind again. Hilarious. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry if you covered this already. I missed a few weeks. Have you decided to add the end period back into the cash session? I did add it because, and I'll probably end up taking it off. I added it because I was looking back to see a lot of times when we get a spike, because we've had a lot of spikes lately. And so basically I was just looking back to see if a lot of these spikes were extended with end period, or if end period a lot of times just closed inside. And sometimes they're extended with end period and sometimes they're not. So I really haven't. I just added them actually this weekend, or maybe last week, later in the week, just to kind of look at that, and then I had forgotten to take them back off. But I don't think, I mean, I don't think it, I don't think it changes that much, to be honest with you, looking back at it. And that was kind of my reasoning, is I wanted to see if those spikes were um, giving us any information with end period added on. You know, because there is kind of a, what's it called? There is kind of a, what's it called? I guess like a debate, you could say, or like an unknown of when does the futures market actually close? You know, is it the settlement? Is it the last? Like, I mean, there's so many what ifs. So I just wanted to give it a shout or give it a look and see if I could find anything useful. And turns out I did not. Super dope if this guy. See, Bitcoin's coming back into value here, so look for acceptance or rejection. See if buyers step back up and look to push back to the upside on Bitcoin as well. And ETH wasn't able to get out of its range. Still kind of getting pushed down or held down. Ooh, little flush there. Watch for that 3906 level. Remember that was a big level before. And that's right where VWAP is at now. So what we want to see now that we're starting to see the point of control, the TPOC shift up, right? We've got 5 TPOs wide here, 4 all the way down here. We want to see that BPOC shift up as they try to backfill some of this area. Notice that B low, you know, is that 3906.50 is kind of right here at this low volume area. So we want to see them try to fill this area in, and look for them to try to continue high, if they're going to try to continue higher. Right? If they're not, Notice how thin this is. Like I said, it could still keep coming down easily. This is value, and if we get back below yesterday's range, could be a rejection of yesterday's range. Still showing that the sellers have a little bit of ammo left in the tank. Oh, so it breaks below yesterday's low. Look to see if people want to start initiating new shorts here, or if they're just covering again. All right, we got below yesterday's low. If they start to cover, we run back in range. We're cracking the VWAP here. Want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers. Mountainviewers.com. 11,690 on the NQ. Yeah, you should be good, I think. You're looking for 690. Yeah, you should be close. Yeah. We're back down below that 3906. This was a big level earlier that acted as resistance, then acted as support, caused that big, like, kind of pump up, and then we're back down below it as well. So let's watch it here and see if they keep selling it down. That's the prior day low, right? They're trying to push price back down, initiating short orders below yesterday's low. That's a sign of an initiating seller. It's also an opportune place for a responsive buyer to buy as well. And so you kind of see, the struggle of power here is what it kind of looks like is going on. Back down to that 3,900. See a little bit of buying off of that mechanical. This is why we focus on value. I was feeling kind of sad that I closed my trade at 10, went all the way up to 30. There you go. Nailed it. Another 100 points. That's 2 days in a row, right? Because I think you hit a 100 pointer yesterday too, Otto. Bill Ackman's tweeting, inflation is out of control. Inflation expectations are getting out of control. Markets are imploding because investors are not confident that the Federal Reserve will stop inflation. If the Fed does not do its job, the market will do the Fed's job. And that is what buyers for stocks. How does this downward market spiral end? It ends when the Fed puts a line in the sand on inflation and says it will do whatever it takes, and then demonstrates it is serious by immediately raising rates to neutral and committing to continue to raise rates until inflation genie is back in the bottle. Stocks of real businesses are cheap once again. Markets will soar once investors can be confident that the days of a runaway inflation are over. Let's hope the Fed gets it right. Bill Ackman. Someone's getting aggressive here. 100 lot order traded on the bid. 96.75 sell order. And so we're getting another one of these situations that we talked about, right? So you have value here, you have value here. I mean, even down to here, you could say, um, and we're getting this G period kind of looking back down into this value, kind of trying to, right, to decide, okay, is this a good spot to? Are you buyers still here, right? Is this a good spot to buy? For the upside, you definitely want to see them try to buy before we get all the way back down in here, because you figure if we do get all the way back down here, the people that did buy down here are probably going to start covering, so selling. And if we get back into this upper value, probably get a bit more choppy. And that's not really something that you'll see in like a book or anything. That's just something that I look at. So Um, you know, you gotta take that with a grain of sand, grain of salt, whatever they say. So watch the 3900 if this thing does start to go back up. The 3900 to 3906 to act as a bit of resistance. See if sellers want to reoffer. And then below, look for these buyers to kind of start showing up around that 3890, really all the way down to like that 3980. It's a pretty big range down there, so it's definitely something to be careful with down here. Apple's coming back down into that lower range as well after trying to get back to its open, wasn't able to. Down about 3% now. Powell does not mention the U.S. economy. Oh, I already read that. So I'll tweet. Looks like there's buying down here. And you're kind of seeing a big bid start to move up to either get filled or to chase price. I wonder if it's a buy stop or if it's a new buyer. Super hard to tell. $14 minutes until the next session opens up, guys. Another good book too that I'm reading right now is called Green Light by Matthew McConaughey. It's not on the list in the Discord, but it's a good book. I like it so far. I didn't get a chance to get into much of it yesterday, but do today. But I'm done with probably like the first half, and it's pretty good so far. Really cool perspective. What's that? No, I was talking about the book yesterday as well. Yeah, I was talking about that Green Lights book yesterday. Same book. He had a really interesting life. Um, and he talks about it in the book, and it's interesting. It's really interesting to listen to, especially because um, he reads it and it's in his voice, and so uh, he has a unique voice, I think. And he hasn't said all right, all right, all right yet in the book, so we'll see when that comes. The Warriors are on again tonight too, but we could see the Warriors basketball. But we could just see them throw game four again, just like they did against the Timberwolves, just to bring the game back to the Bay Area and win. So notice that G low comes down to that low volume area and then starts to really pick up tempo to the upside, right? So that's a little indicative of uh, lack of supply there. The Warriors come out to play. I hope. I mean, that last game when I mean, you could just tell that they were out there bullshitting. To be honest, like it was just like they were just throwing the ball up and just messing around. They just knew they had it in the bag. It felt like. What movie? The Warriors. Um, I don't think so. Oh, okay. I'll check it out. Oh, it's on Amazon Prime. Nice. Yeah, I can watch that easy. I mean, probably similar. My grandfather used to tell us stories about how he was a greaser and that like that was like a legit thing. So we're back at that 3900 getting a little bit of resistance, right? Remember we said 3900 3906 is kind of where we expect sellers if they're going to come in to try to re-offer. This is going to be the area that they do it. If they're unable to hold us below that 3906, then we could be looking at another move back to the upside. These buyers still kind of slowly coming in down here around that 95 to 98 level. It looks like. Yeah, I'll have to check that out this maybe this afternoon. Michael, good morning, good morning. How are you? In a short from the swing failure on BTC. Nice. Just be careful with Bitcoin as it comes back down to the low of value here. My pen. As it comes back down to this low of value, we see we didn't really quite get a huge reaction on the point of control, not yet at least. It's still kind of bouncing around. But just be careful with a reaction from here. Buyers didn't really get a lot of chance to step up here, and if they do step up, and we've identified a little bit of short covering earlier, if they do step up, you could be looking for that VWAP, and we are in a bigger range really on Bitcoin, basically from that 31.5, 39 all the way down to that 28.6. So if it were to get above that weekly VWAP, you'd be looking around that 30,500 level, and then back more towards that upside to test that excess above balance, right? If we were to draw a little balance area, we could probably just draw it just like this, and say this was a failure, came back down low, weren't able to break balance, stayed in balance, stayed in balance, stayed in balance. So it makes sense that the comes back up to test the high now if it's able to get going. Right back to the weekly VWAP and kind of like in the center of our value. So if it does reject, that target come back down here, but it's not yet. So just be careful with that short. Gold rally's losing steam around 1870. It looked like we came almost right up to that 3906 and then sold back down, so that seller might still be there. But if they get popped above this 3906, you could probably go look to test that G high, which kind of looked mechanical to me. What happened? I just walked away. All right, Zoe. Have a good day. Yeah, glad to have you back. Oh, Miko, you're scalping. Your target is 39,050. Oh, so you're, yeah, looking for... Yeah, just be careful. I mean, this thing could rip in the face. You know what I mean? I think that the market got a little bit too overdone to the downside today. I'm just, you know, and I mean, I am an optimist too, so I'm just kind of always looking for a long, I feel like. So, there's that as well. That resistance was at like 15, I think, right? I forgot to write it down last time we were up here. The G high just looks mechanical, right? Kind of selling right off that F half back. And now that we're back inside yesterday's range again during this session after not being able to get down to that lower value, especially if that's where all the volume is at, kind of tells us to me, it kind of leads us to believe that maybe selling isn't as strong as we thought it was. And it might have just been more of a capitulation. You kind of always expect Bitcoin to dump, but I got my stop at the high, willing to be wrong. Yeah, and that's how dude, that's such a good perspective or a good way to look at it, because like that's just how it is. You know what I mean? Like you're never gonna find out unless you try, you know what I mean? And so like as long as you have your risk parameters identified before the trade kicks off, that's really all you can do. $265 Bitcoin market longs and 0.4 Bitcoin market shorts at the high of the first pin. Oh, really? Well, there was some buyers stuck up here. Interesting. So back down below that 3906 here. H period's open. See where they go. They back down to this. What was that previous low? It was like 94, right? This G low, 93, 94. So coming back down into this middle range, trying to, maybe repair some structure here. If they're going to get any continuation, though. Look at that H high is right off the half back as well. The selling's starting to kick back on in tech here. Apple's coming back down to its previous levels. If it starts to get sold off again, you could get more continuation to the downside. Let's see what they've got this time. Utilities has gone green now as well. So consumer staples and energy were kind of flipping back and forth early on, being red or green. They flipped green, and utilities also flipped green. Depending upon your, do you change your stop loss depending upon the trade? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah, my most of the time I'm basing my stop losses off of structure somewhere. And so, you know, and I'm not really looking to have like this gigantic stop loss, so I have to be patient and wait for that trade to come and, um, you know, try to put my stop loss in a key spot. Coming back down into that buying area, that 87 to 90 area seemed like a lot of buyers, and then all the way down to that, really like 90 to 80, honestly. You have all this kind of area down here. What's the tool on the left? The tool on the left is called the TPO, a time price opportunity chart, or market profile. 1 second. Hello? Hey. Okay, that's fine. Good. Bye. Sorry about that. But yeah, so this tool over here is called the market profile, or time price opportunity chart, where we track value, which is what you see highlighted in green. And each letter, if we zoom in, you can see all the individual letters. Each letter is representation of a 30-minute period in the market. And you can see here's yesterday's range in the green. This is the overnight session in the dark green. And so basically what we're using this to do is to identify where value is going. And by identifying where value is going, it tends to keep us on track as far as you know, getting tricked by some of the tricks the market has in store. So back down to this thin spot. Look, we're kind of checking back down into this lower intraday value area, as I call it. Like I said, we had value here, got some value here. I mean, even down to here, honestly, but some value here. We're coming back down into this little area, looking to see if we're going to find some buyers or if some sellers going to keep initiating. And if not, they'll get rejected. It'll come back up and look for those buyers again, just like it did during G and H. Came up to the high, found some sellers and didn't find buyers, came back down. They sold that 6th level again. I think this thing literally popped over the 6 for like a couple of seconds and then came right back down under it. It was like a little rug pull by them. And Coinbase became the first ever cryptocurrency company to join the Fortune 500 list of largest US firms by revenue. Yeah, Pablo, hopefully that helps. You know, if you have any more questions, definitely type them in. I'll answer any questions that you have for about the next 23 minutes until my workout starts in. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, and then if you're interested, you can join our Discord. I can post the invite link. The link below doesn't work. But I'll post this link and you can join our Discord. There's some boot camp videos in there that you can watch that go over a lot of the things, and then also, there is some information, and then a great group of people, which is, you know, uh, invaluable, priceless. California reports first suspected case of monkeypox. Gains all day. Michael, nice. Yeah, Pablo, jump in there, join us, and then if you have questions and stuff, feel free to type them in the Discord as well. Like, people are helpful in this community, so. The market's starting to get to that slow stage where we're just starting to just grind. TNX coming down big time off of the highs here. Remember, this is something that the market's been worried about. And as it was going up, the market was coming down. Well, now it's coming down. Market's still coming down, but just definitely something to note for sure. Um, as the market starts to reorient itself with correlation, because it's basically abandoned correlation since the first of the year, with all the inflation scaring and geopolitical tension. So I'm gonna look at that called. Uh-oh, the cases in Sacramento County not hospitalized recently traveled to Europe. Uh-oh. I have to fucking lock my house and not let anybody outside. The fuck even is monkeypox? What is that? It's just like chickenpox, but not as bad for you? What are you ready for? Who is? Dep- Yeah, I mean, it takes a unique person to be a teacher, especially depending upon the grade. Um, teaching little kids, like some people can teach little kids and some people can't. Uh, which is, in reality where we need the most people to be teaching is teaching our younger kids. And a lot of the kids, in my opinion, um, that are in the ages of, my kids kind of got a little bit of, not, I don't want to say this, kind of like a little bit of a handicap because they had to distance learn for 2 years because of the COVID in California, at least. Okay. How much water did you drink yesterday? There's water and coffee. Yeah, okay. That's like saying there's chicken and beer. Chicken in a can. Perfect. Yeah, we should. I mean, we should definitely pay teachers more for sure, right? They do things that, you know, a lot of people can't do. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they do have like all of summer off, which is nice, but still, they do put a lot of work in, and they do have to provide a lot of their own materials, and then it's so tough to basically develop a relationship, a trusting relationship with a new person every single year. So, the mental aspect of it, or like you know, the psychological strength required by teachers is also under appreciated. Um, because I can only imagine um dealing with a bunch of like fuckhead 15-year-old kids who just think that they don't have to just do whatever they want. For me, it wouldn't work. I would call one of them a fuckhead. I'm like, you're just a little fuckhead, like, and then boom, they tell the principal, and then like I get in trouble. But like, so power to these people. It's amazing that they are able to do that. Yeah, most teachers do. In California, unfortunately, they have to teach what they're given, which is just, I don't want to get into that either because it's a stupid ass fucking thing. But yeah, they have to teach like their curriculum, and it has to be like, I mean, it's just kind of stupid. We should just do, and I know this sounds terrible, but have you guys ever seen that movie Divergent with with what's her name, Jennifer Lawrence, I think it is. It's basically like when you're born, you're you're there's like a test done on you, and you're like put into these factions where, I mean, it's kind of like I guess similar to the Hunger Games as well, but like you're put into like these factions where, like, okay, your skill set is farmer skill set. Okay, your skill set is doctor skill set. Okay, your skill set is and so on and so forth. And so, it makes sense a bit to me that that they oh, hang on, I was trying to see this level real quick. Let's see if this is gonna break this 3900, if they're gonna hold it. It looks like it's getting absorbed on the 3900. um it makes sense that that's what we could do, because there's obviously enough jobs, right? So if we just tell people believe anything you tell them. Tell people like, hey, this is what you're destined to do. um Maybe they do that thing, and maybe they try it and they're not good at it and they hate it and they go to look for something else. But it would just be giving people a purpose, right? And so you have a lot of homeless people that probably feel like they have no purpose, and so they just start doing drugs. And not, I mean, not all homeless people, but a lot of homeless people start doing drugs and then just become leeches to society, when in reality they just need someone to tell them that they can. Some people, you've got to remember, have never been told that they can do stuff. They've just been told that they're fucked their entire lives. Like from birth, as a kid, they've been told, "Oh, well, that's all you're ever going to be," or that's it. That's all you're ever going to do. Um, but if you change that, right? Because that's a negative aspect, or a negative way to look at things. It's like when people say, "Oh, you guys have all heard like the story, I guess, where a teacher tells a kid, "Oh, you're just going to be a garbage man," and then garbage men end up making more than teachers, right? Well, if we were to look at that a different way, and it said like, your skill set is perfect to be a garbage man, or a trash collector, right? That's a necessary job, right? Because what happens when you have a buildup of garbage or buildup of waste? Infection, disease, famine. I mean, like, terrible things. So without these garbage men, people would be having a lot more diseases, a lot worse than COVID, that's for certain. And so instead of giving people this outlook like, oh, you're just going to be a garbage man, tell them like, hey, you're going to be a garbage man, a great garbage man, right? There's nothing wrong, nothing wrong with that. Imagine if you had an well, that's the thing. Nico, is like, um that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if they offer a test at some point and kind of put people, if you get a buildup of waste, you get New York City, classic. um if they offer a test to test people, you could see that early on, right? And if someone has a high IQ, it's easy to tell early on in their lives most of the time. It would. That's true. That's a good point. It would. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's like everything could be balanced, or done done well, but then we're not gonna have any progression, so we're just gonna have slow consistency forever. Um, but then you have like the movie Divergent, right? The girl, she breaks away from her faction or whatever she's destined to be. She was supposed to be like a farmer faction or whatever, and then gets into like the warrior faction and goes on a rampage. They do that at your daughter's school? Yeah, when I was in the army, we would do the ASVAB to test people, if they want to, if they're looking to join the military. But we would go to the schools and offer the ASVAB to people, because it offers you an insight to what you're naturally good at, or what you're naturally inclined at, right? And a lot of people find out that they're, maybe electrically inclined, or they have like a know-how, because sometimes you guys know, like sometimes you just start doing something even if it's new and it just clicks right away and you're just naturally picking it up fast. Well, that's kind of what this ASVAB is set up to measure, is like, hey, would you be good at a medical job, or hey, would you be good at a construction job, or hey, would you be, because you think about the amount of money that the federal government spends on these soldiers to train them up in some of these aspects, and especially some in the medical field, where you have you pay for their the government pays for their certifications and their training, and it's not cheap. So they want to offer this test, or force this test for the military, but we offer it for other people because it can give them a little bit of insight on what they should maybe put their efforts into, right? You know what I mean? Like, if some are labeled, yeah, well, that's a different type of yeah, that's a different, that's a different different conversation, really. But like, if like, if you're not good at math and science, probably, probably you're not going to be good in the medical field. Not saying that you won't, but it'll probably more of a struggle for you than someone who is naturally good at math and science, right? Who naturally picks those things up, who naturally understands them. And we know that. We know there's those natural things. Like for me, I know that naturally I am not good at spelling. Maybe some dyslexia could be the issue, and also because I don't work at it very much. If I wanted to be a good speller, I'm sure I could be if I worked hard. I just don't. um it's because it's just not something that interests me, right? And so if we're able to identify some of these things, pick up on people's interests. Yeah, exactly. I just want, I just think everyone could have a purpose. And it's kind of like in the military, where, they don't let some people join, right? Based off of previous medical conditions, or, I mean, mostly off of any physical or medical conditions. They won't let people join, right? But I think that there's still plenty of opportunity inside the military, that, even people that have, you know maybe not the most advanced train of thought, can still accomplish these tasks, right? The tasks are not, especially in the overall military, right, are not these, like fucking The Rock, where you're like dealing with these little green balls, and if you drop one, it's gonna fucking blow up Alcatraz, right? It's not that serious. It's more like, hey, we've got 1,000 people coming in here at lunch. You need to heat up all this food so all these people can eat, right? I feel like most people can do that. You know what I mean? Um, and where, when you think about like the intellectual chain, you kind of have, like everybody, for the most part, probably like 80% of people here, and then you probably have 10% of people in the lower functioning, and 10% of people in the upper functioning. But most people are falling into this 80% middle category, and there's opportunity out there. They just need to be able to find it. And then also, a lot of people just need that person in their life to tell them, hey, you can do it. But right. So you said, when you turned 15, your dad made you take an aptitude test to find out what you'd be good at. Your number one recommended job was bus driver. Number two was architect. So when I was an architect, architecture school taking the bus, I would look at the bus driver and go, yeah. And I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, I don't know. I think a bus driver is an underappreciated job too, because a lot of kids don't have a way to get to school, and they've got to take the bus. And without that bus driver, they just wouldn't get educated. You know, yeah, it's a thankless job. It's just like being a teacher. It's a well, I mean, that's still the same idea. People got to get to work. People got to move around. But yeah, you got to deal. It's a thankless job, and a lot of jobs kind of are thankless jobs. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, especially, well, and I wouldn't say need them. People could flip their own burgers. Yeah. Well, and that's why a lot of people, like, if you have any friends that are bad tippers, they probably never worked in services. You know, that's what happens a lot of times. It's like a lot of people that have never worked for a government agency think that the army is like some fucking high tech, top secret killing machine, and parts of it is, but not all of it. you know. Let's see I period popping up right here. Let's see what they can give us here. H period really didn't do anything but kind of look back down to that lower value and then return to this upper value and start to relax. We're still below yesterday's low, and it did look like most of our selling came in, from that '06 level, '06 to '03 level. So above that '06 again, probably see them challenge that 14 again, 15 again. That was kind of that spot earlier, and then that G high is kind of where I see them looking to go. That's kind of a mechanical level up there at 1350. But remember that value is down, trend is down, right? So there's also a lot of things to maintain perspective on when it comes to looking for, either upside or downside. You'd rather be auto? Auto's been killing it with those Nasdaq trades. But no, I do not know Blotto. Oh, okay. I haven't watched that in a while. Dang, such a good show. I wish it was rated R though. Would be better. I don't know what. And they were probably a union, I bet, back then. It's like everything that's good, right? People gotta fuck it up. Everything that's good, they always just gotta fuck it up. Look at heroin, right? No? Too far? I said, look at heroin. You know? Super good. If you ask anybody that was in Vietnam, they're like, yeah, heroin was what's up. I loved it. And then it goes back to these to the Bible, right? Told God told Adam not to eat the apples, not to eat those apples. Everything else he wanted he could have, but he just had to have those fucking apples. And that's what we had a great thing and got ruined. You like that one? School driver from The Simpsons, when I say my name to anyone in the States, is the first reference that comes to mind. Yeah, Apple's getting clapped still. What does it mean when the letter is boxed in the TPO chart? So on my chart, it could mean different things on everyone's chart, but on my chart, that purple box is representing the halfway point from the high and the low of those letters. And then the yellow letter represents the open of that period. You think the woman did that shit? The purple square or the pink square, whatever color that is. I'll be right back, guys. I was wondering about that too. I was wondering about that if how those guys were doing it. If yeah. So there goes those stops. We're back inside yesterday's range here. back at that 6 level, right? This is where that selling came in. So if it does pop above this, like I said, I think that they're looking for that 14 up here. That G high seemed mechanical, but this is where sellers sold from last time. And so we could see some a re-offer around this level. So just be careful for the reaction here. No, I'm not. Should have. Didn't. I was looking at that 96 level, but I was kind of stretching and wasn't really focused. So, damn, it's 10:38. All right, guys, I gotta get. We'll just watch this run real quick, but I gotta get a workout in before it gets too hot. It's supposed to be like 101 degrees today, so basically hell. The Dow's getting a little bit of love right here. So it's back above the 6. Watch to see if the 6 acts as support here. Yeah, they're looking. I think they're looking for this 14 level. It just seems like that was a mechanical level that they're going to try and fix here. So there it goes. Let's see for continuation here. If we get continuation, like I said, and we start to get accepted back inside this day's range, that gap up here just looks like it wants to get filled, to be honest. All the way up to 39.74. I am going to have to post today on Twitter just so I can join the group of people that always say exactly like I said. You know, naturally, because we identified the low before everybody else. And so if you don't post it on Twitter, it didn't happen, and you know, we got to make sure that it happened. I'm just making a joke, guys. That's it. I got one lot left. RKNO, what do I, how, let me, how am I saying this? Let me see, let me get, what's your name? Because I see you in here before, and I'd rather just call you by your name than RKNO. But yeah, I took my last one off 1850. Well, my second to last one off 1850, and I've got my stop moving up 1375 here, but right below that 14, because I think maybe this 14 keeps acting as support. It was resistance, acts as support. Maybe we can trade higher above that open. But if it takes me out right here, then I'll just call it a day. Yeah. Well, that's not bad. That just gives me the sign that, you know, I'm good to go catch a workout. Not not bad at all. James. Okay, cool. That's a good name. Yeah, so let's watch this level here. This 14 level was a big, you know, seemed to be a bigger issue to get through. It was a mechanical level that we left behind. And this is almost like a repeat, right? Let's take a peek at this and think about this for a second. Okay, so we originally left behind a mechanical level at what was it? It was I think it was this E high or this F high, I want to say. It was at that 26, right? So the market built value, came up, fixed that mechanical level. We left another mechanical level right here at this G high, came back down, built some value, popped back up and fix it. So now as the market bids back down, we want to see buyers really support this 3906, right? This is a level that we've seen the battleground over twice today. Once going below, once coming above, and then even we kind of, after we popped it, we came back below it to check again and decided to get back above it. So this level is going to be acting as basically your flip zone or your line in the sand, right? We don't want to be getting short really below the or above this, and we don't really want to be getting long below it, right? Just because we know what can happen, but we do want to look for this area to keep acting as support for right now until we get to below it, and then we'll look for it to act as resistance, right? So that'll be kind of our key level going into today for the rest of the session. Oh, it's Renko. Oh, okay. Renko. Oh, okay, I get that. Yeah, Renko. Yeah, I can say that too. That's easy. Renko. 3906, true. Yeah, I think that's going to be our flip zone for today. So that's what we'll have to just pay attention to and watch. But with that, I am... Oh, hang on one second. Brad, can you explain how you see if it is a mechanical level? Traded from TPOC to the G high and gave me 50 points, but not really sure how to identify that mechanical high. So if you're trading the NASDAQ auto, the mechanical levels are not as clear, right? Because the NASDAQ is a, let me pull up the NASDAQ chart real quick. Chart. Pull up the NQ real quick. Where'd it go? Oh, okay, here we go. So we'll pull up the NQ here real quick so I could go. You tried entering but didn't fill you? That's so annoying when that happens. Yeah, let's just wait till this is done, then check it out. Still going. Okay, so here's the NASDAQ. So when we look at the NASDAQ, right, and we're gonna do something here, settings. Let's make the tick size. Let's just make it 1. Okay, so with the NASDAQ, right, and this chart's zoomed in a bit because I have it on I have it on just one tick, so it doesn't do the 0.25s. But anyways, so it's hard a little bit harder for these mechanical levels to show themselves on the NASDAQ because of the lower liquidity of the NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ has it doesn't have as much volume as the ES, so it tends to jump through certain levels sometimes. So as we see the ES over here, you can see like very mechanical A high right off that overnight V point of control, right? And you can see here the A high is really close to that VPOC, and then the TPOC is just up here. So didn't quite get to it. But other than that, like, I mean, it's a little bit more difficult. But when we're talking about these mechanical levels, intraday, right, we can see where, whoa, whoa, whoa. There we go. So when we're talking about mechanical levels intraday, um, the Nasdaq isn't really as mechanically traded because of that low liquidity. So really, you can give yourself a little bit of space. I wouldn't say that's a mechanical level because that A period's way back there, but you can give yourself a little bit of space, right? So like this E low being this close to that D, you know, could be considered a mechanical level, but I don't know. I don't think I would. I don't really follow mechanical levels on the Nasdaq, to be honest, unless it's like a previous day's high or a point of control or something like that, right? As far as like half back and stuff like that, it's just not something that I track on the Nasdaq. I don't feel like it works very well. When I do trade the Nasdaq, most of the time I figure out when the Nasdaq is kind of lagging behind the ES and the Dow, and jump on the Nasdaq for a continuation trade or a correlation trade. But it doesn't really have as many mechanical references as you would think that the ES does. Hopefully that helps. Most of the time when I'm looking at the Nasdaq, my focus is on where's the volume point of control, where's the high, where's the low, where's the value area, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all you need for the Nasdaq, because the Nasdaq's a rough ride, right? A lot of times, you've got to have a wide stop, you've got to be patient and let the trade work, and you've got to be willing to cut the trade when it gets to your stop, because if you don't, it could really go against you. So it's definitely a little bit more of a bucker than the ES. And if you want to trade something really nice and smooth and easy, the Dow is fairly easy to trade. A little bit not as expensive as the ES is to trade. Doesn't move as hard, and tends to trend a lot. We look at the Dow. We'll just look at the Dow futures on here, and you look at them on a 30-minute chart. You get a lot of these moves in the Dow where they're either just kind of going in a direction. You see that there's not really a ton of consolidation on this chart. Coming down, we're coming up, coming down, we're coming up, coming down, consolidate a little bit, coming up though, coming down, a little back and forth, coming up, coming down, came up, right? It's the Dow tends to just go the direction that it goes eventually. But yes, other than that, 15-point stop loss, working on respecting your trade plan. Yeah, so what I would do if I'm trading the Nasdaq, right? And I'm looking to keep that 15-point stop loss. Well, just measure from where you want to get in. So let's say, your entry is here, and then where's the closest reference? So you would say your reference is here, and we're at 97 to, this is the previous 30-minute bar, all the way down to 50. So you're looking, more like that'd be like a 50-point stop. So you'd have to be a little bit more patient, I guess. But yeah, I mean, just identify those levels that you want to get in, and try to identify some levels that you're wrong once it passes, and then that's all you can do. Whatever you're doing, it's definitely working, so just keep doing that for sure. But yeah, other than that, I am gonna go get a workout in. Make sure you are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. Like I said, make sure we're focused on value. Value is down today, so as exciting as it is that we were able to get in a long couple of times, we do have to remember the overall face of the day is value is lower. So until we start to build value higher, that's got to be a box that's still checked. Yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys in the Discord. See you later, Adam. See you, Trin. Later, Kevin. See you, Ronak.